Hello, welcome back to the Cat's Garage. I'm Dirk, also go by Razaron on all the forums. So today we are finishing up putting the main alternator belt on, as well as the ancillary belt for the power steering and the AC. So if you're working on an FD RX-7, you are pretty familiar with, well, you should be pretty familiar with what each component is and how it's being driven. So in my instance, seeing how I will be going single turbo and my car doesn't require the emission systems and everything else, and that's just a lot of headache and everything else, I am going with block off plates on all my emissions. The factory air pump, after they get so old, they stop working. Good luck finding one that's in good working condition. If they've been sitting around for a while, they kind of tend not to work as well. So I ended up going with an FFE, or full function engineering idler pulley. Now you'll see some people, they will try to get the belt around the water pump. So this is the water pump pulley, and it is not ribbed. It comes off of the air pump originally, or in this case, my idler pulley. Goes down underneath, up over the alternator, down to the main crank, or the eccentric shaft pulley. Now, that's on the back side of that eccentric crank pulley. Now or shaft. But now you have the front belt, which comes underneath the power steering idler, which Mazda still has those, or you can order them through people who utilize Mazda parts. In my case, I ordered this through Atkins Rotary. They tend to have a lot of the Mazda items instead of going with some off-brand. I prefer to use OEM stuff unless I'm doing something aftermarket, you know, as far as, for instance, these pulleys are from Bonsai Racing. They're anodized. But anyway, moving on. So you go underneath the power steering idler pulley, comes down or over the power steering pulley down to the AC pulley. Now you're probably wondering, wow, look at all those pretty pulleys, and oh my goodness, look at that AC pulley. Yeah, good luck. I searched and searched just to see if there was anything in any way to replace that clutch pulley, and I did not find anything. So I'm gonna have a dirty looking AC pulley. Get over it. Anyway, moving on. So just put on new belts. Now, Bonsai Racing does a really good favor for everybody, and depending on what you end up doing, pulley-wise, they have a whole list of belts that will work for multiple configurations. Whether you're getting rid of, you know, pretty much everything and just running your water pump, or if you're running an electronic water pump, you know, and you don't have this here anymore, and so you're just mainly running a belt up to the alternator, and that's it. And you can do that. I mean, if you have an electronic water pump, by all means, you could have one pulley connection and boom. I mean, no power steering. A lot of people like to go to the manual style racks, or just get rid of the power portion of it. A lot of people don't like to drive their cars in really hot weather, so they just get rid of the AC. But in my case, I wanted to keep AC. I wanted to keep power steering, but I did end up going with, once again, like I said, the pulley kit from Bonsai Racing, which uses an underdriven eccentric shaft pulley. So that changes up the belts right there alone. So, but anyway, let's continue on here. So pretty much what I'm getting to is the things that you need to know when you're putting it all back together. And a lot of times you can go searching for stuff. The great thing about the RX-7 community is that they share the service manuals, so you can actually go out and find the information. But I'm going to make this video so this way it kind of helps you along the way, and it's right there, and you don't have to go searching, you don't have to go reading, you don't have to go figure out, oh, what the heck does that even mean, all that stuff. So let's get to that. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video. So you got to do the alternator belt first, because it's obviously behind. So once you do that, you have a bolt here that you're going to need to loosen up if you're changing out your belts, so you can adjust your alternator, as well as you're going to have to undo the adjustment nut here. And once you do that, the adjustment nut is on the top of this bracket. right here. Anyway, so you're going to undo this one. You're going to loosen this one. And actually, you're just going to loosen this one too. It doesn't have to be taken off. And then you're going to adjust this one as much as you can. And I will tell you right now, it's going to drop it all the way down until it doesn't go any farther. And don't think that, oh, this is the hooked to the engine block. So if you ever had to pull the engine, you could hook up to that and pull it out. Don't think it's this. This has nothing to do with stopping this alternator from going down. What it is if you have that problem, is the alternator right here lands onto the water pump right here. So you will not be able to drop it any farther than that. And that belt, if it's old, it probably come off nice and easy. But if you're putting a new belt on, it's hard to get it back on there. So there is no more wiggle room. And especially, I mean, if you're at first, you know, if you're doing this and if you go Bonsai Racing's route, or if you're doing any of this and you get the belt at Bonsai Racing, it does work. This is the belt that Bonsai Racing recommended, and this is the belt Bonsai recommended for using their underdriven pulley. So don't think that the belts aren't working. They are a pain just to get back on. And that's okay, because I'm going to walk you through on an easy way to get it done. So one, I have the car up on jack stands. There is no wheel pressure anywhere, but even if there was, the easiest way to do this is to put your e-brake on, put a chock underneath one of your wheels, put the transmission in neutral. You get this belt on, you get it all the way up to here, and it will, for the most part, not climb back on there. So what you're end up going to having to do is you're going to have to end up turning the eccentric shaft pulley. And in my case, I already have a notch down here on my sensor, and my trigger wheel, I guess sensor is a way of saying it. And I knew exactly where that's at, so I make note of it. Or if you have to, if that's not exactly there when you're doing this, mark one of the teeth with a Sharpie, so this way you know exactly what's referenced to this first sensor. It just allows you to make sure that you get everything back to where it was. Now, let's continue here. So it's going to be slightly there. You're going to turn your eccentric shaft, and it turns pretty easily, at least mine did. And you're just going to keep doing that until, and you're going to have the belt all the way here, and it's going to come down across your pulley up here. And you're just going to keep doing that, and you're going to walk that belt until it finally seats all the way in. And it's going to be loose then. It's going to move. So I've already got mine set up for the deflection it needs to be. So we'll keep moving on here. So once you get your belt on, now you're going to set your deflection on this particular belt. Or if you have a tensioner, you can measure the tension if you want to. In my case, I just use the service manual and I use deflection. So you're going to get this all adjusted back up. Before you tighten all these down, you're going to start adjusting with the nut, and you're going to start pulling the alternator upwards. Now, the deflection you need to measure, and what I did is I take a tape measure once I got to that point, if I can find it around here. And it's the deflection for a brand new belt is 1/4 of an inch. There is a range. It's like 0.24 to 0.27 inches for a brand new belt. And all I did was I took this, I placed that white braid, I placed the white one on the white braid, and because I have the camera in my hand here and it's hard to do this, but I placed that there. And if I didn't have the camera in my hand, I take my other hand and I take my finger and I test the deflection by grabbing the belt, and I pull it towards the two, and then I watch. And as long as the deflection, keep that there as best as I can so it kind of lines up, but I have the 1 inch mark on there like that. And as long as that belt doesn't go past the 1/4 inch mark, I know, and it's more than the 1/8 inch mark. So pretty much what you're doing is you're going to the 1/4 inch mark. Get the belt to go from 1 inch to 1 1/4 inches and no further and no less. And guess what? You've now just used the deflection method of getting the belt tension correct. So once the belt tension is correct, now you're going to come up here. You're going to tighten your nut down, and the torque on this is going to be 19 foot-pounds. You're going to come over here to this nut. You're going to get this nut tightened down, and then you're going to torque it to right at, I torqued mine at, there's a range, and I'll give you the range numbers here. I'll put it someplace on the video, like right here. But anyway, I torqued it down to 30 foot-pounds. Now you're going to do the next belt. So the next belt, in order to do this, you have to loosen the idler pulley nut. So you're going to loosen this, and then this bolt right here is the tensioning bolt. And you're going to screw that all the way out, and this pulley is going to go in this direction as it loosens. And as it's going up, this belt's going to get loose. You're going to be able to pull it off, and you're going to put the new one on. Guess what? Once again, it is a pain in the butt to get the brand new belt on, even with this completely pulled up. So the tip and trick I used here is I get the belt all the way on the eccentric shaft pulley, underneath the idler, over the power steering, and I come to this portion right here. Now at this point in time, it's going to be kind of hard to turn your motor. You can do it. You can put a socket in a 17 millimeter, I want to say it's a 17 millimeter. Let me check here real quick. Got my torque wrench right here. Yes, 17 millimeter. This is 17 millimeter as well. But you're going to put your 17 millimeter here, and you can take your ratchet and you can turn it, and you once again can walk the belt all the way around, and remembering your reference where your trigger wheel is. I just do that. Maybe you don't have to. It's just my technique. But you're going to walk that all the way around. Now in my case, all I did is I put on some work gloves, and I took my fingers and I just worked it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until it finally slid on there. And one of the other things you can do is you can take one of these body panel pin fastener little dilly bobs, whatever the heck you call this dang thing, a fastener wrench or pry bar. And one of the things you can do is you can also take this on the belt, and you can just kind of slowly move it around in both directions. But there's multiple ways you can do it. I would recommend getting the belt almost on here and then using the ratchet here, going in this direction, and just walk the belt onto the pulley. Walking the belts on is usually the best way to get the belt, a brand new belt on. So now when you go to do the deflection here, the deflection area that the service manual says is you're going to check the deflection of the belt right here. Now this one's different. This one is going to be 0.14 to 0.17 inches. And once again, I just did the same thing. I set my 1 inch mark right there on the hose, or hose, scratch that, the belt. I put my 1 inch mark on that belt, and then I just take my finger and I push down towards the, as you can see there, the eccentric. So in other words, I'm pushing that way. And I'm watching to make sure that it goes to about the right between the 1/8 and the 1/4 mark. In this case, if you're going from the 1 inch mark down, you're going to go in between the 15, pretty much the 15 16ths, correction. No, you're going to go between the, oh my goodness, I am drawing a blank here, 7/8 and the 3/4. Okay? Yeah. 7/8, 3/4. That's where you want to see your deflection. And once you do that, you can now go back up to this here. Well, actually, this is what you're going to do to adjust to get to your deflection point. So once you adjust this down and you get to your 0.14 to 0.17 inch deflection, you're going to stop and you're going to torque this bolt into place. And the torque on this torque on this nut here is going to also be 30 foot-pounds. And that's pretty much it. That's how you check the tension on your belts when they are brand new. And additionally, that's how you walk your belts on to get them back into place. And once you do that, you're good to go. So if you have any comments, questions, put them down below. I try to answer them as soon as I see them. And in addition, if you like these videos, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like. Yeah, trying to build this channel and trying to just help out fellow car people. All right, well, y'all take care, drive safe, and I'll take you over to the service manual real quick just to kind of show you. So I have it on the iPad here, but as you can see here, power steering AC. That gives you your deflection measurements, 0.14 to 0.15 for brand new. If it's a used belt and you did something and you had to go back in and check it, obviously you get a little bit more. And then additionally, you get a limit, the maximum you can go. Now, once again, I showed you that, that nut to tighten to 30 foot-pounds. So here it says 27 to 38 foot-pounds, or 39, I guess. Some of these things kind of blur. Because these were all scanned in, and then going back up, we get back up to your other, oh, too far. So here you go. And there's your deflection for your alternator power steering. It also gives you a nice little graph right there. It goes through it. It tells you where you measure your deflection from, and right there in that image there. So it's kind of hard to see the arrow right there going that direction on the alternator belt, but it's there. And then obviously you see the other arrow. Geez, getting hard to talk. And like I said, they also have a deal here if you have a tension or tensionometer or whatever you want to call it to measure belt tension. You can do that as well. It shows you pretty much the process on how to do it, but I think deflection is perfectly fine. And then once you get done with the alternator, it goes in and it tells you once again your deflections, your limits, and then it also gives you the torque once you're all done. Right there. And there's your torque. Anyway, hopefully this helped. Hopefully it gives you some information or prevents you from having to go search everywhere and anywhere for the information. Once again, hopefully you're enjoying the videos on the 93 RX-7 named Nadine. And we're going to keep going on and we're going to keep getting stuff done. So, yep, got the coil radiator in right now. Got one of the Samco hoses on down there. I got some other stuff that's going to be going in here. So I'm looking to see if I'm either going to modify the stock fans or if I end up going with slightly thinner fan setup, but we'll work it all out. But once again, like I said, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to be notified when I set up another video, and also leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you whenever I see the comment. And additionally, go out, have fun with your vehicles, drive safe, and you all stay healthy.